Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I will react to probably to geography now Tajikistan because yeah, why not? It's an interesting country hopefully, and I'm back again online. I mean, maybe there are some weird sounds in between because I use my phone to have internet on my computer in the moment, but everything will be better in the future. So it's in a new flat, everything is still messed up. So that's maybe the reason why you hear sometimes something, but right now I'm just so glad to be back online again, to be able again to make videos. I mean, it's awesome. I hope you all enjoy my videos. Please subscribe if you do, and I mean you can also later unsubscribe if you later decide otherwise that you are not interested in what I can offer to you. But I like it. I enjoy making videos. I also enjoy making let's plays. So if you want to see me play video games, I play at the moment Morrowind. Just take a look on the E or maybe in the description. I don't know yet where I will put it, but you will find it. I started to play Morrowind. I played Morrowind a long while ago. Also, I'm quite familiar with the game, so it's definitely not a blind run. But yeah, if you can maybe learn something or just enjoy playing Morrowind with me or watching Morrowind games. So I'm very glad that I can be online again. So it's awesome. Yeah, please subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter if you want to hear some about my political ideas or opinions or so. I mean, with the recent takeover of Elon Musk, it is really messed up in the moment a bit. I mean, Twitter functions as always normally, but yeah, I don't like Elon Musk. He had a good idea about the Ukrainian war. I surprisingly agreed with him in this, so that's something. But well, anyway, now a video. Now we will react. I will react to Gian Tachi Tajikistan. Horribly wrong written, but hopefully he will still find it. Yeah, he found it. So this will be the video for today, and I hope it will work the whole time through. Maybe my internet will break or it will collapse. I'm not sure yet, but I hope it will all functions perfectly well. So welcome to Geography Now Tajikistan. I see here in the suggested videos also Syria. So if you want me to react to Syria next, then click the like button and let me see that you all enjoy my videos. And yeah, we will start with the video in a moment. Yeah, let's start.
All right, Tajikistan, back in Central Asia. So Central Asia is a very complicated place, and Tajikistan is kind of one of those countries that has a bit of an identity crisis. During USSR times, it was like,
haha, it's that Persian guy.
And to their closest relatives, it was like,
look, it's that Russian guy.
And to Russians, it was like,
oh hey, it's our Persian Russian guy.
But no matter where they fit, they know that they are the link to the Silk Road, the edge of empires, and the pearl of the Pamirs. But to me, I call it the next episode, Tajikistan.
It's time to learn geography.
Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan are more, and also Kazakhstan. I think they're all countries where Turkish people live. So I heard this already in the Turkey episode, and I also heard it in the Turkmenistan episode, which I have not yet reacted to. If you want to, just comment it. But yeah, let's continue.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. You can get Geography Now merch at geographynow.com. It's not selling out if it's your brand.
You can I would probably not buy such a thing, but you should do maybe so if you want. It would help him, and yeah, he definitely deserves this. I enjoy his videos always very much.
So some countries link continents, others link cultural regions, and some countries had their links destroyed by cyclones 600 years ago. The point is, there's a lot of connector countries, and very few in this world can claim that title like Tajikistan. They are literally the center of the Iranic, Turkic, Sino, and Indo-Aryan worlds, and they also sometimes speak Russian. We'll get to that stuff later, but first, the map. So, in ancient times, Tajikistan went by many names and empires. They were part of Aryana, Bactria, the Achaemenid Empire. But most Tajiks today will probably attribute the Samanid dynasty as being the key era that gave them their distinct Tajik identity. This guy, Ismail Samani, considered the father of the nation. Since then, Tajikistan, let alone the entirety of Central Asia, has gone through a lot of transition and complicated administrative restructuring.
Really? Russia? Seriously? You did that? What is this?
What? We all know that you still love me. Please, here's some money. Just take it. Just go.
Yeah, that's kind of a story for another time. But in any case, here's the motion graphic. First of all, the country is landlocked, located in Central Asia, surrounded by 4 other countries, including China to the east, which means Tajikistan has a 3-hour time zone jump, as China follows only one time zone of UTC plus 8. Tajikistan also has 3 exclaves located within 2 of their neighbors. In Kyrgyzstan, you find this small guy, Lolazor, it's uninhabited, and you have Vorukh. In Uzbekistan, you have Sarvan. It's also important to note that even though the Sokh exclave in Kyrgyzstan belongs to Uzbekistan, it's 99% inhabited by Tajiks. So yeah, that makes things interesting. At the confluence of the Varzob and Khofar-Nihon rivers lies the capital and largest city, Dushanbe, which means Monday, most likely derived from the Monday market that the city grew from. In Soviet years, it was known as Stalinabad, but then it changed its name back.
Stalinabad? I have never heard this, but maybe I should have.
In 1961. Here you can obviously find
I don't know much about Central Asia, except of course that these countries or parts of these countries belong to the Soviet Union at some part, but I don't know a lot about the history and so on. So that will be interesting.
the largest and busiest airport, Dushanbe International, whereas the second largest city, Khujand in the north, holds the second largest airport, Furudgohi Bajnamirali Khujand International. The country is made up of 4 provinces, or vilayat. They are Sugd, Catalon, Nagorno-Barakhshan Autonomous Province, and this one in the middle was formerly known as Karategin, but since the Tajik Civil War, the name was changed to the districts under central government jurisdiction or republic subordination, depending on how you translate it. I'm not even joking, that's what they are called. Nagorno-Barakhshan is the largest province, making up about 45% of the country's landmass, yet only about 3% of the population lives there. The province is autonomous, and if you want to visit, you will need to obtain a special permit from Dushanbe. This area was once disputed with China as they laid claim to nearly all the Pamir region. That is until the late 90s and 2010s when all disputes were settled and China relinquished about 96% of their claims in return for exchanging 2 slots of land on each side. Tajikistan got these 2, the valley of the Markansu River and Karazok Mountain, whereas China got these 2 areas totaling about 520 square miles on the north and center slopes of the Sarikol Range. In addition, they finally opened up the Karasu checkpoint in 2004, officially marking the border between the 2. Finally, Tajikistan is home to a unique network of roadways that try their best to interconnect each district, but of course the heavy mountainous terrain always has been somewhat challenging. For one, the entire northern part of the country across the Zerafshan Mountains was completely inaccessible for the longest time by highway, before people would have to travel to Uzbekistan and hook around the range in order to arrive into Khujand. Now, however, they have the M34 highway with the newly built Anzob tunnel, about 5 kilometers long. This tunnel saves around 4 to 6 hours of driving and gives them access.
I'm back again. I just had to do something. 5,040 meters, so 5 kilometers. That's very long. But I imagine I had never been in such a long tunnel, nearly not even close to 5 kilometers. I'm not sure. Maybe a few hundred meters the longest tunnel I've ever traveled through. But interesting. This had to be a lot of work to do.
To the Sugd province and Khujand. In addition, the M41 highway is probably the most famous one that traverses the Pamir Mountains and has been existing for millennia as part of the ancient Silk Road. Yeah, the Anzob tunnel is no joke. It's known as the Tunnel of Death or the world's most dangerous tunnel. Anyhow, it's important to note that the Tajikistan borders you see—
Speaking is a great ability that I sometimes have, but I have never traveled through such a dangerous tunnel, of course. We don't have something like this in Germany. Or at least I don't know it.
Today are essentially the byproduct of whatever Russia allotted to them post-USSR breakup. If you ask Tajiks what they really think would be maybe an appropriate homeland for the Tajiks, they might refer to the Greater Khorasan region. This is a historical region dating back to the Sasanian Empire, encapsulating lands between Afghanistan, southern Uzbekistan, as far as northeastern Iran. Yeah, to this day, Tajiks kind of look at southern Uzbekistan and they're kind of like, dude, Samarkand and Bukhara are basically Tajik. There's so many of them there and you know it.
Yeah, well, there's lots of Uzbeks in Sugd, so what's your point?
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Go to Geography Now, geographynow.com. Tajikistan is loaded with tons of shockingly wonderful places of interest.
I
Tons of
just it has nothing to do with the video. I just noticed in the suggestion we see here Geography Now St. Lucia with both two people that are standing. They look like they would be just before kissing or so. So nothing to do with the video. I'm sorry, but I had to say it.
historical attractions, Tajikistan does not disappoint. To explain more, here's Geography and Patreon patron Yahon to explain.
Hey Geography peeps, Tajikistan is a very beautiful country, and if you do end up visiting it in your lifetime, which I highly recommend you to do, then please make sure to check out the following places, which include places such as the fossilized dinosaur footprints in Shirkand, the UNESCO World Heritage Site in Sarazm, the ancient Panjikan, so many fortresses like these, but the most famous ones are probably being these two at the bottom. There's a mausoleum which is dedicated to Mirsad Ali Hamdani, there's a tomb of Rudaki, then there's a statue of Rudaki, then there's also a park of Rudaki, there's a short block observatory, there's a wall that's been dedicated to the great Tajik writers, the National Museum of Antiques, the National Library of Tajikistan, the Dushanbe Opera House, the Dushanbe flagpole, and most importantly, when it comes to Tajikistan, remember the bazaars. There's heaps of bazaars like these in Tajikistan. The country is full of beautiful, amazing, fascinating, naturally astonishing places such as the Lake Iskandarkul, the Lake Karakul, and of course, the Karakum Reservoir. Thank you, Geography peeps.
Thanks, man. And thanks for also being a Patreon patron. It's weird. I don't really promote Patreon that much on this channel. I don't know, maybe I should. Join Patreon. There's like fun behind the scenes stuff there. Yay, Patreon. In any case, speaking of amazing sites, Tajikistan is loaded with amazing natural ones, which brings us to... Now, when it comes to landscapes, few places match what Tajikistan has to offer. They may not have
They have probably, as I see in the pictures, the guy also showed, a lot of mountains. I mean, it's a very mountainous country. It's like the whole, also Kyrgyzstan is up there, I think, on the mountainous countries. But yeah, interesting places. They look very nice. Also, this bazaar thing, this market, this open air market thing. I have seen just one thing like this, which is a bit similar, and this was in Vietnam when I visited my girlfriend. A night market, which also was much bigger than anything I have ever known before, but that's something Asia has quite a few of, I think.
been blessed with the ocean, but what they lack in sea access, they gain in sky access.
Huh?
Mountains, there's a lot.
Ah.
Here's the motion graphic. First of all, the country is 93% mountainous, the third most mountainous country in the world after...
So I was correct. What is the second most mountainous countries? I think maybe Kyrgyzstan and definitely Bhutan.
Bhutan and Nepal. The two main ranges...
Okay, Bhutan and Nepal. Okay, I was nearly correct, but Kyrgyzstan is also up there.
Being the Pamir and the Alai ranges. These mountains are of course caused by the convergence of the Indian plate thrusting into the Eurasian plate, creating an entire complicated network of mini rifts, fissures, and fault lines, mostly in the Pamir mountains, the largest being the Altai, Davaz, Karakorum, and Herat fault lines. This in return makes Tajikistan susceptible to regular earthquake activity. And of course, within these mountains, you can find the tallest peak, Ismail Somoni Peak. Just to skip away from here, you can find the Fedchenko Glacier, the largest non-polar glacier in the world. They have two lowlands separated by mountains in the north and south, the Panj River lowlands in the southwest, and the Fergana Valley in the north, which is the most fertile part of the country. These valleys are fed by the countless snowmelt river runoff from the mountains. It is said that there are over 900 rivers in the country, at least 10 kilometers or longer. The longest one, though, would be the Vakhsh River that traverses northeast to southwest. On this river, you can find the Nurek Dam, the second tallest in the world, which creates the Nurek Reservoir. All the way up in the north, you also find the Karaykum Reservoir, with another hydroelectric plant. In fact, almost all the power in Tajikistan is provided by hydroelectric sources. However, the largest inland body of water is actually Karakul Lake, found in...
I have to say, it looks a bit like two lungs, you know, just from a first look, but anyway.
impact crater in the Pamir Mountains. Yes, geologists speculate that this is an impact crater. Finally, only about 3% of the country is forested, as they have lost much of it in the past century due to industrial activity. Crazy beautiful stuff, right? Basically, what you'll get with Tajikistan's land if visiting will most likely be a dizzying panorama of dry, rocky, yet snow-capped mountains that melt into narrow, spotty, green river valleys below. Thanks, Geography Tristan, for that footage. He did a cool bike trip across the Pamirs a few years ago. Woo! So yeah, clearly you can tell, not gonna lie, Tajikistan is widely noted for its natural wonders. I mean, you have things like Hoja Mumin, butchered that, sorry. You have the 40 Girls Rock Pillars. There's like a legend, but
40 girls pillars. It sounds like it sounds interesting. Maybe I would want to know about the legend.
about 40 girls that turned into stone pillars to avoid the Mongols attacking, whatever. There's a lot of legends here. And speaking of legends, this is usually the part where I take my triple shot espresso break and then Noah comes to fill in for the rest of these segments, but he is out of town visiting family for the holidays, so I'll cover, because, you know, I made this show. I can cover for any segment. Now, economically, Tajikistan is often ranked as the poorest of all the former Soviet republics. About a quarter of its entire GDP is derived from remittance money sent over from abroad. It's estimated about 1 in 7 men live and work in another country, mostly Russia. Internet is also expensive and often spotty, as they don't have a national network, so they usually just buy it from outside providers and then sell it back to the locals. To this day, they are still heavily dependent on their agrarian and mineral mining sectors, aluminum being their largest element. The state-owned Tajikistan Aluminum Company is the only large-scale production enterprise in the mining sector. Now, all things considered, that being said, there is a heavily active black market in Tajikistan, mostly in the opioid sector. It's often said that the Pamir Highway is nicknamed the Heroin Highway, as much of the narcotic is brought in through
Not good.
Afghanistan.
Whoa.
I laugh just because it's weird but funny, but it's definitely not good and funny in a special weird way. I mean, it's not good that drugs are sold, of course.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm just growing poppies here, so you guys can do whatever you want to do with it. Hey, you're not getting any poppies, all right? I know you want it, but you're not going to get it, so you go back down. I love you. You could be a little drug dealer if you want to.
Speaking of plant life, there's another living thing in Afghanistan, the animals. And with that, here's Gary Harlow.
Time to be Gary Harlow. Gary Harlow here. Now, Tajikistan may have only 3% forest coverage, but you don't need lots of trees to have animals. The country has about 20 national nature reserves and parks, the largest and most famous being Tajik National Park, classified as a UNESCO heritage site. Only one fish lives in Lake Karakul, the stone loach. In the steep hills you can find wild boars, the Turkestan lynx, ermines, Talai hares, juniper voles, and numerous wild rats.
From all of these animals, I just know the German names, and then I see the English names. It's funny. It's weird, but funny and interesting. I like to learn more.
And sheep species. And if you're lucky enough, you might spot the incredibly rare snow leopard in the Pamir Mountains. There's only about 300 of them left. Or in the South Davos region.
This looks so. If you have watched a normal day in Russia videos, funny videos, meme videos of things which seem to happen in Russia, but probably are not so common because it's just weird often. But there are often bears also, and when I just see this, I have to think that's maybe a reason why they used to be, or why they had been a part of the Soviet Union. The Russian and the bears. It's just.
You might find the rare Tajik brown bear. Yaskarnikul Lake is one of the best hotspots for birds. Many of the birds sound like this. There's too many to mention, but here is a scrolling list of all the types of birds that you can find in Tajikistan.
Himalayan snowcock.
In any case, the national animal of Tajikistan actually no longer lives here, and it's the Caspian tiger. Unfortunately, they were hunted down in the 20th century as they were seen as a threat to farmers. So they kind of killed off their national animal. However, DNA tests revealed it could be the same species as the Siberian or Amur tiger, so maybe it's...
I'm back. I had to do something again. So, Siberian tiger is maybe related to the national animal of Tajikistan, which was hunted down in the 20th century. So, I hope it is the same, or so they maybe still exist.
It's not extinct? Well, that's it for me. Off I go, mates.
Thank you, Gary. So there you go. The land, the resources, the industry that produces said resources, the wildlife. So that means there's only one part left to discuss in this segment. I can't do it. Here's a compilation of Noah doing it. Food! Food! The food! Thank you, Noah. Can't wait to have you back. Tajik food. It's quite an underrated cuisine. To talk about the food, here's one of you guys, the Tajik geography peeps, Nigina, to explain. Take it away.
Salam alaikum and hi guys. I am so happy to tell you about the traditional Tajik foods that we have.
I'm very interesting. So let's see what they eat, and let's find out if I maybe would also like to try some of the things out.
Very first one would be non, a Tajik-style flatbread. It will be prepared in an oven called tandir. We also have the so-called manti. The manti are steamed dumpling, krut, which is a snack in Tajikistan. It will be prepared from a thickened, salty yogurt called süzma. You can eat them like savory hard candy. There are also many other traditional foods in Tajikistan, one of which is the hurutop, which is also a national dish, or the shur.
I just realized that she has a world map necklace, so that's nice.
Which is a very rich soup. The most famous dish and the king of the table would be the plov. But depending on the region where it's from, people will add other ingredients. There is also a huge tea culture in Tajikistan. We love to drink our green tea together with different kinds of nuts and fruits and also dried fruits. Shirchoy is a milk tea with butter.
We invite you to see our incredible scenery and beautiful nature, try our delicious food, and experience the friendliness and hospitality of Tajiks.
Thanks, Nigina. Oh my goodness, they made a salad out of bread. I fucking love carbs. I don't care what people say when they're all like, oh, carbs are bad for you. I just eat more out of spite. Carby Barbie. Oh yeah, and they are obsessed with melons. They even have a holiday dedicated to it, and the president even opened up a tea house building shaped like...
It looks awesome. Fantastic. I would like to go there and visit it. Maybe at some point me and my girlfriend can do this.
We'll discuss more about the president in the next segment, which by the way is coming up right now.
Tajik people.
So, what exactly is a Tajik person, or even just a person from Tajikistan that might not even actually be ethnically Tajik? Well, that question has quite a number of nuances depending on whom you ask, but essentially it boils down to a group of people with lots of history. Here are some of you guys explaining.
Initially, Central Asia had predominantly been settled by the Persian-speaking people for thousands of years. Waves and waves of nomadic migrations were coming in from North and Northeast Asia. Most of them were Turkic, with the only exception being the Mongols in the 13th century. In the mid-1800s, the Russians come in from the northwest, but by the time they came in, the region became so heavily Turco-Persian mixed that it was nearly impossible to draw a clear line to separate Turkic from Persian world. Stalin makes 4 out of 5 republics Turkic and only 1 Persian, Tajikistan.
Being a Tajik means to be a Muslim with Persian culture and with great Russian influence. But despite all this mixed culture, I'm proud of being Tajik and I really like it.
For me, being Tajik means to live with some strange stereotypes, but I'm feeling home.
It always had strong ties to the Persian history, but also the Soviet influence, which made it less conservative.
She has a t-shirt, I think, which has some vibes of Russia and Soviet era. It looks like this from so far away. It's the same girl with the same necklace as earlier. It looks a bit like something Soviet style. Maybe it's also something else. A coat of arm from Tajikistan or so, which makes more sense. But yeah. Anyway, let's find out what the Tajik person is like.
Also, we are quite a proud nation, and the appearance is quite an important thing. There is a Russian saying that the East is a delicate matter, which means that all those traditions and habits and ways of life in Central Asia are very symbolic and with many hidden meanings.
Thank you. In any case, statistically, here's how the country breaks down. Motion graphic time. The country has a population of about 10 million people and has the fastest growing population in Central Asia, averaging at about 2.4 annually. There are also more Tajiks in diaspora than in Tajikistan, somewhere around 11 to 13 million in Afghanistan alone. At somewhere around 85%, the country is primarily made up of ethnic Tajiks. However, keep in mind, usually minority groups like the Pamiris and Yagnobi peoples sometimes get lumped into the Tajik category as they are ethno-linguistically related. After that, at about 13%, the next largest community are Uzbeks, specifically Sogdian Uzbeks that live in the north part of the country by Uzbekistan. And finally, the last remaining 2% are made up of other people groups, mostly Russians, Kyrgyz, Turkmens, and so on. There's even a few Koreans in there, believe it or not. They use the somoni as their currency, which by the way is one of the only few currencies that comes in a denomination of 3 for coins or banknotes. They use the types C and I plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Language-wise, obviously, Tajik is the official language of Tajikistan. The language is pretty much intelligible to the other Persian-based languages like Farsi in Iran and Dari spoken in Afghanistan. They can all understand each other. The biggest difference is that it is one of the only 2 Iranic languages written in the Cyrillic alphabet rather than the Arabic one.
Woo! That's me! I got another mention in an episode. This time it's not for controversy. Woo!
Otherwise, the only other difference between the three is that there are slight accents and differences in loan words from outside languages. Other than that, Russian is the secondary inter-ethnic language spoken here. I mean, go figure, Russian is useful in this part of the world. It's also important to note, though, that the Pamiris are kind of like a completely separate thing. Their languages are less intelligible and they have their own unique customs, many of which are inspired by Zoroastrianism. And today they are actually predominantly Shia as opposed to the Sunni majority. Which brings us to religion. Faith-wise, the vast majority at about 98% of the country identifies as Muslim, mostly in the Sunni branch Hanafi school of jurisprudence. The rest are mostly Christian, mostly Russian Orthodox. Now, it may be a Muslim majority country, however, here things are a little different from other quote-unquote Muslim nations. I mean, besides the fact that you'll probably see people drinking alcohol and eating pork products, the government also has imposed a lot of laws that they claim maintain tradition over non-traditional practices. Basically, even though the country is categorically secular and allows freedom of religion, the government has heavy involvement in anything religion-based, especially Islam. Their reasoning being, think of it, when you come from a culture that might sometimes clash with what many might consider Arab-centric customs that dominate much of the Muslim world, you're probably going to get a country like Tajikistan. For example, the government has a list of pre-approved topics for imams to preach on in mosques. Attendance to mosques and religious matters are banned for children under 18 unless they express interest. The Hajj, or pilgrimage to Mecca, is banned for anyone under 35. Hijabs, let alone burqas or any other Islamic clothing, are banned for women. If they want to dress modestly, they usually wear like a hairscarf. And men are not allowed to have thick beards as they are usually affiliated with extremism. Even Arab Islamic names were considered to be banned, even though the president kind of has one himself. Shut up. Their rationale behind this, it's kind of like this.
I mean, I think many of the former Soviet countries, like also Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and so, they have a different, even if they are from, even if most of the people which have a religious belief are Muslim, they are not as strict in the belief as other Islamic Muslim countries with the predominant faith of Islam, because probably the time in the Soviet Union had an impact on their culture. So they because I heard also, and I think it is true, communism or socialism, or if you try out this political ideology, if you try it out to if you have a communistic country, there cannot be a big religious people group. I mean, communism and religion is something which excludes itself. I mean, you can have either the one or the other thing. That's what I want to say. I hope it was understandable.
Look, Iran, Afghanistan, I don't care if we practically speak the same language. I am not getting lumped into all the drama that you got into in the past few decades.
Calling us
Who do you think you are? You're calling me dramatic? You literally had a civil war.
And I have more real Tajiks in my country than you do.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated when they get their cousins involved. Anyway, now hearing all this, you're probably thinking,
oh, let me guess, the unlimited term president, he has all the power, right?
Well, technically they have 7-year terms, but every election cycle the president overwhelmingly wins and any opponents, if any, are squelched. This guy, Emomali Rahmon, has been in power since 1994. His pictures are everywhere on buildings. Yeah. It's a lot more complicated than that, though. I mean, it dates back to the Tajik Civil War and the old president guy. We don't have time to discuss it, but basically, post-Soviet Union collapse equals internal dispute sometimes. The point is, this is just Tajikistan in the past few decades, but looking at the grand scope of history, Tajikistan's story has been through so much transition. Hell, Fujian was basically the furthest Eastern Greek settlement during Alexander the Great's time. Even many religions and religious movements settled here. Hell, there's even Buddhist statues in their museums. Dynasty after empires have chiseled away at Tajikistan's story, making it the nation that it is today. In any case, that's quite a bit to digest, so let's burn off those information calories by bringing some sports into this video. To talk about that, here's Art with the sports part.
Tajikistan. This one is going to be an interesting one. For one, Tajiks love to wrestle. If two families have two boys that are about the same age, it's not uncommon for them to make them battle it out in a wrestling match to see who's stronger. For example, if I was to take Tarchin here, who happens to be my son, and have him battle out another son that's about whoever one was the best. Oh yeah. No, I do have a son too. Like if I took my son and battle him out with somebody else too, that... All right, let's move on to the next segment. The national sport is Gushtakiri, a form of wrestling. Traditionally, each district had its own alufta, or best wrestler that would compete for the...
I'm back. I had there was someone ringing on the door, so here I'm back again. Let's continue with the video.
village. Otherwise, much like their African cousins, buzkashi is still played mostly in the cooler mountainside areas. The game involves a bunch of men riding horses on a field about 200 meters wide, and traditionally they would attempt to grab and move a decapitated goat or calf carcass into the goal area to score a point, as if it was like a soccer ball. That's weird. I'm done. Otherwise, like most of the rest of the world, they love soccer, or football. Their first international win was in the AFC Inaugural Challenge Cup against Sri Lanka in 2006. Prior to independence, they participated in the Olympics under the USSR, in which these 4 Tajikistan-born athletes won medals. However, post-independence, since 2008, these 4 athletes have successfully won medals for the country in wrestling, judo, and boxing. And their only gold medal to this day is Dilshad Nazarov in hammer throw. So there you go. That's a little bit of insight on the athletic side of Tajikistan. I'm so proud of you, my son. Wait, where's my other son? Where'd he go? Mikhail.
Thank you, Art. Fun fact, there's references to Buzkashi in Rambo 3 and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And speaking of film and culture, there's only one person who can cover it ever so gracefully in these episodes. That would be Mrs. Random Hannah. Take it away.
What's up, guys? I'm back. And you can get a Random Hannah shirt at geographynow.com. Check out my really cool model.
Forward thinking, everyone.
So Tajikistan is kind of a cultural anomaly. It's kind of like the child between the Persian world and Russia. Nonetheless, after independence, Tajikistan went through an extended period of trying to reclaim its Tajik identity apart from the Sovietized one. For example, they became the first post-Soviet country to abandon Sovietized surnames. The president even did it to himself. Historically, Tajikistan was home to some of the most notable Persian poets like these guys. There are even statues of them here. Everywhere you'll see a wide contrast of traditional Tajik, colorful or geometric tile pattern architecture.
I have to say, even if it's quite unimportant with the names, I think it is a bit sad that I don't like. I mean, the Soviet Union was something with a great potential for me, and I don't like it if then former Soviet countries I mean, it's also important really. So, but yeah, that's my opinion. I didn't like it when Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania, I'm not sure which one it was, took down a Soviet state, even if it was a stupid tank or so. I mean, you can take down tanks. That's not a big thing. But this but also other statues also were taken down, and don't like this. So anyway, let's continue.
Juxtaposed to more blocky Soviet utilitarian unit structures. And if you're lucky enough to pass by, Pamiris have an entirely unique style of house called the Cheed, with layered angled square roofs. Folk wood carving panels called kadaroki have been around forever. This guy being one of the most famous contemporary Tajik wood carvers. And speaking of art, if you want to learn more about film and the culture of Tajikistan, check out my YouTube channel called Random Hannah. I changed it from filmography now to Random Hannah. Hannah has a spin-off. Otherwise, traditional clothing usually follows the Zardozi stitching technique, similar to other types in Central Asia that has a basma or double-sided stitch. You might see a lot of people, mostly in the older generations, with gold teeth. During the Soviet times, it was seen as a status symbol, and it was a cheap procedure.
Gold teeth!
Another tradition Tajikistan is known for, eyebrow fashion. For a while, unibrows were considered attractive amongst women, and in some places still are. However, today, regardless of having a unibrow or not, Tajik women still like to heavily emphasize their brows. Speaking of which, marriage culture in Tajikistan is pretty intense too. Here are 2 of you guys, the Tajik subscribers, explaining.
Hi guys, my name is Ali.
And my name is Tahmina.
We want to tell you some interesting facts about Tajik wedding traditions.
First of all, we have to say that there is always somebody who is out of the rules or exception. That is why whatever we say refers to 90% of all Tajiks.
Of course, sometimes it's different, but usually if you're going to marry, you're not the one who looks for a partner.
Your parents, your family, friends, the elders will find you a match. And if they agree with this match, you cannot say no.
Yes, it's your life, but not your decision.
No wedding could take place without the presentation of kalim,
a ransom for the bride. After that, the newlyweds make their commitment before an imam, which is called the nikah ceremony.
This seals the marriage, and only then they are allowed to be together.
Couples live together.
In the morning and during 5-6 months, the bride has to get up before everyone else in the family, cook breakfast, do some housework, and greet everyone she sees. During this period, she has to be already pregnant. If not, gossip starts all around the family.
After having a baby and during some 5-6 years, the wife should serve her husband's parents in order to get recognition or make a good name. And only after that, they can let them to be together to live in their own house. But this happens not all the time. Sometimes they live with their parents till death. And all these are unspoken laws.
Ah, weddings. I remember mine. Yeah, Ian danced.
It sounds quite unique. Interesting. I mean, many different countries have more stricter marriage cultures than where I come from. But yeah, it's just a different culture. So nothing is better or worse than anything else. It's just different. Yeah.
Too. My mind's telling me no. It was a beautiful day and a great night.
I might leave that in.
Oh, really? Oh, no. Well, one thing you can find a lot of at weddings is music, which I guess, unfortunately, brings us to the worst segment on this show.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's mine. Woo! Alright, guys, I'm a Keithiopian. Can I have my own, like, little special effect intro now that I'm a Keithiopian?
Sure, why not?
Yeah! I'm a pickle now! Yeah! Woo! Alright. Music of Tajikistan. Alright, so Tajikistan basically has three different main types of folk music: the central, the north, and the mountains. And of course, these styles are accompanied by numerous instruments native to Central Asia, such as the dutar, the rubob, the gijak, the karmai, the suranai, and the tablak drum. Actually originated in northern India, but whatever. Fun fact, Karni horns were originally used for battles as a signal. Now you can hear them almost anywhere on the weekend for wedding announcements. In Tajikistan, you can literally crash into any wedding. They are usually open invite to the community. I mean, don't be creepy, but like jump in. Congratulations on community. Some of the most notable styles of music from Tajikistan come from the Pamir Mountain, specifically Falak music. It uses religious mythical themes of love and suffering derived from Persian poetry. It is usually played in like a descending hexachord scale kind of deal. And if you're those that you want to know, it's a hexachord scale. It's got 6 notes. Boom. Hex, meaning 6. And finally, in a more contemporary sense, Tajik music today is more modern, pop-oriented, using electronic beats. Here is a list of notable Tajik musicians you guys suggested we mention. Every single one of you wanted us to mention Manesia, who performed at Eurovision. Also, this dude who won the Central Asia's Got Talent. All you Tajiks, hell yeah. Also gotta give a shout out to the band Param, awesome Tajik folk rock band. They've been around
I've heard of none of these musicians and none of these bands or groups, but I'm also, I mean, I don't hear much music, and when I hear it, it's mostly something completely different. But yeah, interesting. Anyway.
1993. That's it for me. I'm Keith. Hey, look, you can get a Keith shirt. Buy a Keith shirt at geographynow.com. It's cool. You can get shredded like me and Paul, even though I've bulked up some.
Thank you, Keith. What are you doing, Keith? Thank you, Keith. Tajikistan has gone through so much in history from outside forces. Now let's see how they interact with those outside forces, shall we?
I'm curious specifically about their relations to Russia, so let's find out.
So by now you can kind of obviously tell that Tajikistan is being pulled by so many parts of the world: the Iranic world, the Russian world, the Turkic world. At some point you have to imagine that they're probably like, nonetheless, they still have their close clique and they know how to make friends. Time for the motion graphic. India has been a close friend for decades, as Tajikistan was the site of India's first overseas air base at Farkhur. Later on, they would agree to jointly share the Aini air base as well. India also does great business and gives aid to them in times of need. In that regard, after the border dispute conflict, China has actually become way more invested and surpassed Russia as being Tajikistan's largest import partner at over 40%. Of course, Russia's relationship is still close. Most Tajiks abroad live in Russia and depend on them for remittance money. They've agreed to lease out 4 army camps and an air base to Russians in Tajikistan in return for training Tajik soldiers and selling military equipment to them for super cheap. Then we get to their actual cousins, Iran and Afghanistan. Afghanistan has always felt close to Tajikistan no matter what time period they've been in. I mean, they were joint units during the Samanid, Ghaznavid, and Timurid dynasties, so it's not much of a question. The only issue is that recent years, with all the drama with Al-Qaeda, has put a strain on their relationship, and Tajikistan deliberately chose to distance themselves for the sake of not not looking compliant with the extremist ideologies. For Iran, after the breakup of the USSR, they swept in immediately and were like, hey, old cousin, let's remind you of your Persian heritage. I'll build you some new mosques, I'll invite you over, I'll share my TV shows, magazines, and books with you. You'll be back to being Persian no time. The issue is, though, the two countries do still have some stark contrasts. The biggest one being, obviously, that Iran is mostly Shia with a theocracy, whereas Tajikistan is mostly Sunni and secular. Nonetheless, no matter how messy things get, at the very least, culturally, the Persian cousins will always get each other. When I asked you guys who the best friend of Tajikistan was, though, surprisingly, I actually didn't expect this, but most of you said Uzbekistan, even though they are Turkic and Tajikistan is Persian. Nonetheless, they share a deep bond. Now, granted, recently there was a little tension with the previous Uzbek president, who had a lot of suspicions and accusations against Tajikistan that caused the two to fall apart diplomatically, but after he died, the new president promised to remove all the tensions and renew relationships. Both are former USSR nations, both speak Russian, they both, at least to some degree, mostly identify as Muslim, they both share so many cultural traits, business is huge between them, many people intermarry between the two countries, and overall, their Turkic neighbors seem to have made the best impression on them, which says something when you come from two completely different ethno-linguistic groups. In conclusion, Tajikistan is kind of like the lone wolf of the former USSR. Okay, maybe one of. But the point is, they have a very distinct thing going on, locked away in the mountains, and they truly are kind of a story of historical fusion packed into one place. Stay tuned. Tanzania is coming up next. Love that.
Yeah.
Place.
It is interesting. It is awesome to. I mean, the episode was interesting. I liked the episode, and I am curious to maybe visit Tajikistan one day. And it feels so great to be online again, to make videos again. It is just awesome. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe. Watch some other videos from me. Like the other videos, comment them, and help me out to reach maybe 25 subscribers by the end of the year. And also check out my second channel when you want to see some more political videos, where I am a bit afraid they might be too controversial at some point. So yeah, check them out. I will put the link in the description, and yeah, see you next time.